Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Well, you guys are so lucky that you have Danielle as a leader because she spoke to my team last week and she really lit a fire under them. And, it was interesting to watch her work because now, like, I watched her speak to my coaches and I'm like, I think there's a quote like, she's gentle, but she carries like, like she has this ability to like really move people. And so I am just excited to talk to you guys. I wanted to talk to you about changing your story because I feel like even though I've had a financial transformation, even though I've had all this success, I really honestly feel like Beachbody has allowed me to change as a person. And that is kind of what keeps me in the game. It's what makes me wake up in the morning. It's what, makes me work late at night and things like that. In case you don't know, I am 45 years old. I became a coach at 41. And so I think a lot of people who are older think that there is no market or think that everybody's a Beachbody coach that is, between the ages of 20 and 30 and things like that. And I never looked at that as being something to hold me back. I looked at it as something that I could be unique with, and that I could really talk to other women who were my age that, hey, like the mom bod doesn't have to happen and you don't have to be heavy. And I especially, felt like my kids were younger, like I didn't have my children until I was 35. And so, yeah, I'm older, but I got a long time to stick around with them and stuff. And so I found my coach, Danielle Natoni, through Facebook. And here's the thing, guys, this is why you need a public profile, because one of my neighbors commented on her summit picture. And I think she had just retired herself from teaching. And so it comes up like, oh, Brian Sheff, and that was his name. He posted on her picture. And I like literally started stalking this lady because I was like, why does she look so happy? Like, she looks like she's in shape. Like, what we all do. We all do it naturally. We start stalking. We start like, oh, what's she doing now today? And that's what I did. And I was just like, and you know what? Danielle Natoni's known for her abs, but honestly, she just looked happy. And I was intrigued by that happiness. And that's, I think, really what I wanted. And so she invited me to be a part of her group. I bought my stuff off of Amazon. I hear a lot of coaches complain like, ugh, she brought up her Amazon. What am I going to do with her? I'm like, I think I've made a lot of money for Danielle Natoni for being an Amazon customer. She never asked me to buy anything. And in fact, she would talk about Shakeology. And I was like, yeah, I bought that Shakeology from Amazon because I really didn't know that there was Beachbody. I didn't know that there was this like whole thing. And so I happened to be in her challenge group. I was a bulimic. After using Shakeology, I was a huge believer in it. I really do. I mean, I can't publicly say this, but I really feel like if you have an eating disorder, I think Shakeology changes your brain chemistry. And so that people who have eating disorders really do get that, like, that thing, that game changer that allows them to not do these terrible things to themselves. And for me, I was like all in by day 10 and stuff. And she asked me to coach 3 or 4 times. And you know how like you guys send out those mobile links and you're like, why isn't anybody filling out those links? I was that person. I was the person who was like, yeah, I'm going to do the link tonight and whatever. And I never did. And she met me in an airport, and she happened to be in Boston Airport at the same time I was. And she was like, hey, let's meet up. I want to meet you. We're going to be there at the same time. Turns out I left my computer in the room. We had to like go back. And so I texted her and I was like, you know what? We're not going to meet up. I'm sorry, whatever. You know how big, I don't know if understand how big Logan Airport is. I literally walked in to the airport and she walked out of the bathroom and we saw each other. And so I really truly believe that things happen for a reason. And So not only was she there, but Sean T walks out of the bathroom. And what I admire about Danielle is she never told me she was with Sean T. She never said like, "Hey, I'm with Sean T. You want to come meet me or whatever?" And so anyway, sorry to make this story longer, but so we got on a flight, my husband and I, and the plane had to make an emergency landing. And so basically they told us that the landing gear wasn't working, and that don't be startled that there was going to be fire engines that met us at the bottom. And I was like freaked out, like we didn't have a will, we didn't like, and I just started thinking like, if my life ended today, would I have done everything that I thought I was supposed to do on earth? Because I think somebody quoted that, or somebody said that. I think it was Melissa McAllister. She just posted it tonight. She said, when you get to heaven, or whatever you believe, when you get to heaven, they're not going to ask you anything other than did you do who you were supposed to be. And I really felt like I wasn't living up to my potential. And so I went home that night and I signed up and I finished that link to be a coach. And that's how I became a coach. And so I truly believe in things happening for a reason. And so if you have a coach that you keep thinking like would be a great coach, or they're not, like, things happen for a reason. And let me tell you something. Sometimes it's better that they sign later with you, because then they're truly ready to be a coach and stuff like that. And they've convinced themselves. So I became a coach, and I'm known as Danielle Natoni's problem child coach. And she often calls me that. And not that I was a bad coach, but we just used to like knock heads. And if you've heard her story, when I came into her business, she was going through the end of her marriage. And so that kind of, put us at odds and stuff like that. And so I came with a lot of baggage. I didn't want anybody to help me. I very much viewed women as being my adversary. And I very much had my guard up with anybody. And anybody that wanted to help me, I felt like they had an ulterior motive. And so I was a fun coach, right? to have to mentor. And so I want you to think, because these are the things that I used to label myself as when I became a coach. And I got to tell you, I was still labeling myself these things when I was a successful coach. And so what I love about this business, and if you've ever read John Maxwell, he talks about the law of the lid, that you really only get as far as you grow. And I really believe that. So you guys could be successful in this business, but you can even be even more successful. Like you don't even have a clue of how much more successful you can be if you work on yourself and you start to examine these things. And so these are the things I used to label myself as. And I honestly think I used to label myself as these things even like a year ago. I used to tell people I was crazy. I used to tell people I was unlovable, that I was broken, that I was a loner, that I was a problem child, that I needed to be fixed, that people were not to be trusted. Like when things went wrong, my first impression is that somebody was trying to screw me, somebody was trying to get one over on me. So you can imagine how well that does when you're in the business of working with people and working with your coaches and things like that. And so I would actually tell you right now, if you have a pen, to jot down some things that you say to yourself or that you think about yourself that is not helping you, that it's not kind, it's not loving, it's not whatever. And for some people, maybe they've done this whole thing so maybe it's what you used to label yourself as. Because I can tell you that however you label yourself is what you're going to do. It's where your focus goes. It's where your behavior goes. Like, I used to say all the time that I was really disorganized. And if you tell yourself that you're really disorganized, your actions will lead you to keep being disorganized. And so, you really have to be careful. And, like something Oprah Winfrey said is, create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life, because what you become what you believe. And for a long time, I used to think people who thought like this were crazy. I used to think that they were goofy. I used to think like people who were positive all the time, or like who were like, I'm going to manifest it. I used to be like, yeah, okay, sister, you manifest that. And then I started to really buy into it. And I really started to buy into it by some of the steps I'm actually going to teach you tonight. But so where does this faulty thinking about ourselves come from? And I have figured out that it comes from, when we're little, when we're small. It comes from experiences that we have when we're younger. And, Shailene Johnson I consider her one of my mentors. And she told me that, your inner voice is usually the inner voice of a parent that you had. And so if you have situations where it wasn't a positive or negative voice, that's kind of like that little voice in your head that talks to you. And so if you went to Summit, Shailene Johnson talked about a story. And she talked about how her parents owned a business, and that she had to pay, her dad came to her and said, hey, Shailene, I know you put money away, and I want you to, loan us that money so that you can help us get out of this hole in our business. And so she walked away from that experience feeling like she was powerful. She walked away from that experience, and as she got older, as her feeling like her job was to make money, and that she could help people. She could fix things by making money. And what's funny is that she took that, and for her, it made her become somebody who worked too hard, but I had the same experience when I was young, and that my parents got into financial problems. And, like my job was to give my paycheck to my parents so that they could pay the mortgage. And I got to tell you, I was really bitter about that. And so for me, I didn't walk away from that situation feeling like, wow, I could help my family, or wow, I make money and I could help them. I walked away feeling like I was taken advantage of, like I wasn't like my other girlfriends who were working a job and, paying for clothes and paying for gas. Like my money was going to pay for a mortgage, at 17 years old and stuff. And so it's just amazing to me how people can have things happen into their life, and it changes who they are as people. It changes their perception. And it can be the same situation, and yet two people can walk away from the same thing. And so, it's kind of like anybody that's a financial planner, if you ask them, they probably have had some sort of financial difficulty in their life. A lot of doctors usually have somebody who got sick when they were younger. Like, our cousin is a doctor, and he grew up with his older brother suffering from juvenile diabetes and stuff like that. And so our experiences, our life experiences mold us, but it doesn't mean that we're stuck. It doesn't mean that we even have to change those experiences. It means we need to change our perception of those experiences. Because just like Shailene Johnson can go back and see that she was powerful and she was helpful, she turned that into something positive. And what I've realized is that my whole life was set up for me to do exactly what I'm doing tonight, is talking to people, telling them that they're not alone, telling them that they're not screwed up, telling them that they have greatness within them, telling them that it's okay to dream big, that it's okay, that they deserve it, because there aren't enough people out there doing that. There's enough perfect people acting like they have a perfect life and acting like everything's fine. There is not a lot of people telling people, I screwed up, I've done things in my past I'm embarrassed of, I feel shame a lot of times for things that have happened to me, but guess what? I'm still rocking it. I still have value. And for me, the greatest thing that I will ever do, and it doesn't matter. I could make $1 million. I have changed the cycle in my family. And my boys have a life where they look at things differently than I did. And so if they do it at 9 and 11, could you imagine what kind of men they're going to be at 21 or 30, or when they become fathers, hopefully? I mean, and so that's what this business has done for me. And so what I want you to do is I want you to do this exercise, because this exercise is going to help you identify some beliefs that you have. And it's not like beliefs are bad or good or whatever. It's just that some beliefs are holding you back and you might not realize it. And so what I want you to do is I'm going to read you a statement. If you kind of feel it like in your chest, or you feel it like you emotionally get felt by it, I want you to kind of jot it down, because it means that you hold some sort of belief about that. Okay? You ready? All right. The first one. When reading each one, I want you to do a gut check. If you experience the slightest physical or emotional reaction, I want you to write it down. So the first question is, I am not good enough. Number 2, I don't deserve love. Number 3, I don't deserve to be happy. Number 4, I am not blank enough. I'm not young enough. I'm not wealthy enough. I'm not lovable enough. Whatever word you want to put in there. Number 5, I am too old. I am too fat. I am too unsuccessful. I am too dysfunctional. Number 6, I don't deserve to be successful. Number 7, I don't have what it takes to achieve success. Number 8, if I am successful, people will start to dislike me or hate me. Number 9, and this one was really cool. It came up in my group. I don't need lots of money. I just need enough to survive. Number 10 was also very cool. I must be realistic in my expectations, and that might mean that I need to settle for less than what I want. Number 11, I can't get rich doing what I love for a job. Number 12, I will be rejected if I ask for what I truly want in life. And number 13, you have to work long and hard to be successful. And so hopefully you have written some stuff down that kind of like, because you know the ones that like hit you in the heart and you're like, for a long time I used to feel like I wasn't good enough. And anything bad that happened to me, that was the first thing that came out of my mouth. I'm not good enough. Why did I ever think I was good enough? I think I've said that 1 million times to my coach, Danielle. Whenever something bad happened, whether it's a challenge pack or whatever, it was always, I don't know why I believed I could do this, that I was good enough. And so start analyzing what you wrote down. What are some insights that you can take about? I have coaches that actually self-sabotage themselves because they believe that they don't need a lot of money, that they think like there's something wrong with money, that there's something evil about it and stuff. And so they feel like if they're making an abundance of money, that somehow that's connected to doing something wrong. I have coaches that are, who feel like, their whole life has been about just doing enough and not expecting more than enough. And so there are my coaches who like hit Success Club 4 or they hit Success Club 5 and they never do anything past that. And so these things you can really look at, and then take a look at like how they hold you back. Like, are these the things that come out of your mouth every time something bad happens? Are these the things that come out of your mouth when you're fearful, when you want to do something, right? You want to do something really fearful and you're like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. And like, blah, 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 that comes out, that's going to be key for you to realize that, hey, this is just all, stuff that's just holding me back, and stuff. So I thought that that thing was cool about self-limiting beliefs. And I learned that when I went to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power. And I very rarely tell people to do things, but I really feel like if you feel like you have something holding you back, you will love it. I swear when Christina and Becky took me there, I just wanted to hang out with them. Like, I just wanted a girls' weekend to hang out with Christina and Becky. I didn't know who Tony Robbins was. I was just like, I think he's the big-headed guy, he's the tall guy, right? And so when you walk into a Tony Robbins event, everybody's like dancing. It's like you, and I'm like, what? Did you take me to a rave? What? And so for the whole day, I was sitting there and I was just like, I was like the person like this, like, I don't need this. What are all these people? These people are hugging each other. They're slapping hands. Like, what did I, like, when can we go to dinner? I need to go to dinner. When can we start drinking? And so, it really was a life-changing event for me. And it really did make me take a look at the stuff that I was doing. And so that was one of the things that I did. Somebody said they were the same way. Yeah, it is like, woo, out there. So how did I all of a sudden like break these chains and stuff like that? And I got to tell you, I still have some self-limiting beliefs that I really try to work on. But I really do feel like when bad things happen to me now, or when, like things happen that go wrong, my first response is actually not, I'm not good enough or I don't deserve it. My first response is, how the frig am I going to fix this? Like, that is my first response now. And so it took a while, but it can get there. And so how did I get to this place of like, I need to change my life? So I went to Tony Robbins and I did all that, but I really only went so far. And what happened was I had surgery last August, and my husband and I were not in a good place. And I went to surgery, and my mom had watched the kids. And I remember I was in the operating room by myself. And if you've ever been in an operating room, it's cold. And it was just this feeling of, oh my goodness, if I don't change myself and my believing, like, I'm going to die like this. Like, I'm going to die alone. And I'm not even trying to be over dramatic, because that's honestly how I felt. I was like, I don't even have anybody back here in the operating room to stay with me. I was like, where is my life going? Like, I don't care that I'm an elite coach. I don't care that I make $200,000 a year. What am I doing with my life? And so I read this book called by Louise Hay, and it's called You Can Heal Your Life. And she actually has a new one now called Mirror Work. And it's 21 days, and it's affirmations you're supposed to do and keep a journal. And so if you're somebody who has, maybe you don't feel really great about yourself, it's an amazing, amazing thing to go through. But it's called You Can Heal Your Life. And they actually made it into a movie. I think you can maybe YouTube it. But the whole premise is all about what you believe, what you say to yourself, what you say out loud, you manifest and you bring to your life. And I was in such a place last August that I was like, that's got to be true, because this is my life. I'm by myself. And so for a full week, I did not say a single negative thing. And I got to tell you, like, you know how like you lift weights? That was like lifting weights all week to keep my brain from going into the negative, from gossiping, from doing any kind of negative stuff. I did that for a week. And when I tell you that that's all I could focus on for the week, I am not lying. I was recovering from surgery, and so I really didn't have too much to do because I was like hopped up on painkillers and I had to stay in bed. So it was like the perfect opportunity to work on myself. And so I did. And so one of the other things I did is something called the Miracle Morning, and it's by Hal. Somebody might be able to write it in the chat. I forget his name, but it's Hal something. Don't get the Miracle Morning for network marketers, because I feel like that kind of dirtied what the whole message is about, like just so it could be sold to people who work for MLM companies. But it's all about waking up early and setting your intentions for the day. And I got to tell you, I am still not an early person, but I have realized that waking up early is one of the number one things that I can do to control the rest of my day. And so, Hal Eldron, yes. So I wake up early, and I pray, actually, before I get out of bed, but then I meditate. And meditation, I think, is one of the most amazing things that you can do. I truly believe that meditation allows you to change your brain in ways that you can't consciously do. And so it allows you to subconsciously change your brain. And so I use a meditation app called Headspace. And I think that the emblem is like an orange circle. But they give you 10 lessons for free. And so you can try it for 10 lessons. And it's 10 minutes, because I am not one of those people. I'm not a monk. I'm not going to sit there and meditate for 50 minutes, like 10 minutes, and I'm good. I'm golden. And so I do that. I meditate. And then I started doing my affirmations. I started to write out exactly what I wanted to happen. And so, when I really wanted to work on my marriage, I wrote out the things that I wanted to happen in my marriage. I wrote out what I wanted to happen in my business and things like that, because I truly believe it. And then I exercise, because for a long time, I used to wake up and then I would exercise. But I realized that I was not setting my day up correctly. And so now I meditate, and I don't take your pre-workout before you meditate, because I tried that to try to save some time, and that doesn't work out. It's hard to get into that zone with that. But so I did that. And so start also, another thing, number 2, start getting into the discipline of doing small things, because happiness comes from progress. And so sometimes progress is hard to see, but sometimes progress can be that you made your bed in the morning. I was never a person who made my bed, and now I make my bed. And so there are little things that you can start doing and getting into a discipline, and it makes you feel good. Like when I go upstairs and I see my bed beautifully made, that's going to make me feel good. It makes me feel accomplished. And so, all those kind of things that you can do, start setting up little disciplines, because it's going to make you see progress in things. The third thing is it kind of talks about like what I did. You have to take yourself off of complaining. And here's the thing, because I see some people on here who are teachers. We all know what teachers do sometimes. They go out into the parking lot and they start gossiping and they start talking, and they start, like they'll get you in your room and start talking about stuff, and in the lunchroom and stuff like that. And sometimes it feels good, right? You're like, yeah. And the next thing you know, like you're all like, whatever. Coaches do that too. Coaches do that on Facebook. They have like the little message strings, right? And they start, did you see what she wrote? What's this one? And they start sending screenshots of each other, whatever. I know. I've been on that. And you really need to remove yourself from that situation, because in the time that you are complaining about something in a message, you could have messaged somebody who could be your next rock star coach. And so you really can't let people, take you down that way, because I have to tell you, in the very beginning of my career, I had a success partner who was really creative, but he kind of led me down that path of being toxic. And it is not a good use of your time. The fourth thing is, which leads us, you need to surround your people who have a higher standard of what you want. Like one of the things that my dad taught me was that if you want to be rich, hang around rich people. You want to be smart, hang around smart people. Like if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to go find another room to be in. And so when I became friends with Christina and Becky, like I really truly believe that they helped me raise the standards that I had for my own life. They helped me raise the standards that I had in my coaches group. I felt like they helped me raise the standards of who I was as a person. And so surround yourself with those people, because those people are going to show you how they do it, because they're not perfect, but yet when they hold themselves up here, you have no choice. Like if you're going to hang around with Christina, you need to be up here, because if you're down here, she'll entertain you, whatever, but you're not going to be part of like that inner circle and stuff like that. So do that. The next thing is number 5 is accept your shortcomings. Like we all have shortcomings. There are things that we all have. And what's interesting is that Carl Deichler talked about this the other day. He said, Beachbody is not about fixing people. It's not like about let me fix you and all this other stuff. I really feel like Beachbody is let's see what you can do, not let me fix you. Let's see what you can do. We think that you're awesome. We think that you're incredible. We think that you have only like scratched the surface of what you have done. And how do we do that? We do it by showing people that we're not perfect, that we have shortcomings. I have coaches that, every day they're posting their selfie and their sweaty selfie. And that's all they're saying is like, I worked out. And like people are like scrolling it like, oh, that's great. You worked out. Wonderful. Like there's never anything shared. Like, was your baby up all night? Like what's the story behind it? And you always have to tell a story. You always have to let people know what your shortcomings are. But you need to tell people what your shortcomings are, but how you do it. Because I can tell people that I used to be depressed and all this other stuff, but if all I talk about is that I'm depressed, guess who I attract? I attract coaches who are depressed, and they like to be depressed, and they have no intentions of not being depressed. And so you need to be careful of how you show your shortcomings. And so I like to show my shortcomings of, yeah, this is who I used to be, but this is who I am now. Yes, they absolutely feed off of that. And I can tell what period of my life I have attracted certain coaches, because certain coaches, they're like right in it. They're, whatever. And then other coaches are just like, they're, they want to talk about their problems all day and whatever. And they do feed off of it. And so what I would ask you to do is, I think a lot of us as coaches, and I think a lot of us because we're women, I don't know if there's any men on here, but we love to figure out what we're not good at, right? Because we're always like we want to be the Pinterest mom. We want to be like the best teacher or whatever, right? Like we are so interested in like, where can I go better, right? No, you need to know what you're good at. Like, the 80% of what you're good at, stay in your lane, stay in what you're good at. Because how do you feel when you do something that you're not good at? And it's not even that you're not good at it. You just might not like it. Like there are very much stuff that I do as a coach, and now I make enough money. I pay people to do the stuff I don't like. And that's what I outsource. I outsource the stuff that I don't like in my job. And so when you can find out as a coach what you do well and ring that bell every day that you do well, like there are some people who they're great one-on-one, right? They're like awesome one-on-one. Those people can be amazing coaches. I got to tell you, I'm better in this forum. I'm better on social media, doing my videos, putting myself out there. Like I would rather put something really personal to a million people who I don't know on social media than have to sit with somebody and talk to them. Like, that's just me. And so sometimes when people like sign up to be a coach, with me, they're like, wow, you're like a little more introverted than I thought and stuff. But like, if you stay in your lane, if you stay in the stuff that you're good at and the stuff that you have strengths in, you're going to enjoy this job as being a coach. It should be enjoyable. So the last thing I wanted to leave you with is that our team, I was looking for them. Oh, well, our team shirts said we can do hard things. And the reason we picked that hashtag is because I got through 11-star qualification with a coach who was who found out her husband was cheating on her. I got out of qualification with a coach whose husband was a paraplegic. I got out of qualification with a coach who was getting divorced, a coach who 3 of her closest family members had passed away in a span of 3 months. And so what we did is we created this hashtag, we can do hard things. And the reason is because, you know, when people complain about this job and they're like, I don't want to message people, and somebody said no, and somebody returned a challenge pack, I always like to tell my coaches this: write down the 5 things that you've been through that are really freaking hard in your life. Like, we all have them. I mean, I had a coach who was complaining about she didn't want to message people, and she beat cancer. She beat cancer. And I finally said to her, if you tell me one more time you're afraid to write a message and you beat cancer, guys, we all have things in our life that have made us resilient. And we can't forget about it. We cannot forget about the times when we have been tossed on our butt. And you find, yes, absolutely. Figure out what those 5 things are that were really hard on you. And I got to tell you, I bet you any amount of money, they came out of nowhere. And they came during a time when everything was fine, right? Everything, you're like, everything's fine, right? And then all of a sudden, like, you're like smacked upside the head. What are the characteristics you use to get out of them? Bring that to your business. Because this business isn't about just selling challenge packs and selling shakes and getting your name called in recognition and stuff. It really is about getting to the dream, getting to the things that you have in your life. And just like you have been through so many difficult times, you can get through all of this. You really can. I've looked at it now. As I look back on my career, every bad thing that happened to teach me a lesson as a leader. It really did. And it was almost like a test. And I truly believe now when something happens bad in my business, that it's to teach me. Like, I got to tell you, you know, I came home from Summit and I dropped from 11-star to 6-star from Summit. And so that was like, you know, a kick in the gut. But I was like, you know what? I need to really figure out what's going on with my team. I need to, you know, we need a culture shift. We need whatever. And so my first response now is, what do I need to do? What is this trying to teach me? Because I can guarantee you that if you look at it that way, not only are you going to solve the problem, but you're just going to be so much more powerful in what you're able to do. So that's all I have. I didn't mean to talk so long.
You're amazing. So amazing. I got so much out of it. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it was personal development on like steroids, and we need that because sometimes we like lose focus, and I know I get out of the swing of not doing personal development and I'm like reading other things. But what I got out of it was just to take a look at your own life. Like I could just name like at least 5 things I've struggled with, and I've shared those things, and he's attracted other people to me that have dealt with the same struggles, and I've shared how I overcame it with my father passing, with struggles in my marriage, with financial stress, with being overworked and tired, out of shape, like things like that. That's really hard to share. I mean, really not easy. I've shared those things, how I overcame it, and then attracted those people to me, and been that light, like you were saying. And then you can only go as far as you grow. And that, I mean, just everything you've said, I mean, I can tell that you're not the same person from when you signed up to where you are now. And I think that's so admirable to see what growth and personal development can do to someone and their business. I mean, you guys heard how much she makes. Like, that's mind blowing. And it just shows the more you grow internally, the more your income can grow, the people around you can grow, and your whole life can change. So, I mean, it's the same for me. I feel like personal development has completely changed my life. I was the negative. I didn't think I was worthy of love. I had issues within myself from growing up in a divorced family, you know, things like that. It's taken a lot of prayer and faith and personal development to, I feel like, become who I am now. And of course, I have my own struggles and things that I deal with, but personal development, I can say, was just the light of this call. If you guys don't walk away feeling like you want to go and scream and share all of the things you've struggled with and dig into personal development, I urge you, because that is how your business, your life can completely change and do a complete 180. So thank you so much, Kim. I think you're so amazing. And this call just even more so makes me think how awesome you are. So thank you. And I know Arlene had her team on, so thank you for joining us. Team Hustle, Heart, and I'm not sure the other one. Anyways, guys, this was recorded. Have a wonderful night, and thank you so much, Kim. Wait, let me take a really quick picture. Beautiful faces on. All right, gorgeous girls. Have a great night.